Αγαπητοί φίλοι και φίλες, καλησπέρα. Καλώς ορίσατε στο φακό του Hellenic TV. Σήμερα έχουμε ένα πολύ ενδιαφέρον θέμα και έχουμε την παραγωγό ενός πολύ σημαντικού ντοκυμαντέρ, το οποίο είναι «Η Ζωή, μετά τη ζωή, Life After Life, οι Ρωμιοί της Πόλης». Θα καλωσορίσουμε την Gonul Bozuglu. Is this correct, Gonul? Is
Yes.
this correct?
Yeah.
Welcome. And thank you so much for accepting my invitation. And I have to congratulate you. You know, it's amazing documentary. And thank you for doing this documentary. But we would like to know more about you. Can you tell us about yourself? Who are you? And you decided to make this film about the Greeks.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we will certainly come to that. And I think it's probably a very important point that we should talk about. So who am I? It's a difficult question to answer, actually. Well, I'm from Turkey, and I grew up in Izmir, and for the university, I moved to Istanbul, where I studied art history and archaeology. So then I did my MA in museum studies in the UK, and then PhD, half in the UK and half in Germany, in museum and heritage studies with anthropological approaches and methods, which is very common in museum and heritage studies. And in my PhD, I explored state-level narratives in Turkish museums. And after thinking about all of these national-level stories, and how the state uses them, I wanted to explore the stories that don't make to museum or into other public spaces. So this is kind of also common in our heritage and museum studies. We always question, what is dominant, what is not. So there is this dimension and, backgrounds that I have. So I also become very interested in a concept of heritage as something that can be very personal, even private, community-based, and not shown in a big state museum. Instead, we can find these in maybe people's living room or, or community places, in their personal photography collections and so on. So these are my general concepts and approaches and who I am. But specifically, my case studies are almost always related to Constantinople, Istanbul.
Yes.
The memories and heritages of Istanbul are my big interests. And, we can come to that, of course.
So what inspired you actually to get involved, with the Greeks of Constantinople, that you wanted to find out more and actually do a very emotional documentary?
Mm-hmm. I mean, so I got, probably I can answer this in two ways. So what inspired me is probably, I can start with my, background. I'm, as I explained, so I'm a researcher in museum and heritage studies, and I have these anthropological approaches in my research. And as I said, a lot of what I engage with in terms of heritage is not recognized in official heritage. And for me, it is always important to find other methods and platforms for recognizing and making visible these otherwise, hidden histories. Because if you don't do anything, they are at risk of disappearing. So because, I'm in academia, so we write books and stuff, but it's not enough. It's good. It's a good record. We should do that. But also it's good to also make it somehow visible. So to do that, I work with two main platforms. One is a digital memory map, which I'm developing as part of this research. It's about, again, heritages and memories of Istanbul's Greeks. And the other one is the film. And why Greeks is it? Of course, a different question if you want me to.
Yes, please.
Yeah. So I think it's also kind of related to, my knowledge about Greeks, my relationship about Greeks in Turkey. I mean, Greeks, we have two words, by the way, like for Greeks. We have Yunan, which is about, Greece is Greeks. Actually, it comes from Ionian. And the other one is Rum, which comes from Roman. It refers to, Byzantine Empire. So they're actually, in Turkish, the words are also related to Greek words. So, either Rum, or Ionians, Yunan, in general, of course, it was always a question for me. So I would say I did not know much about these communities when I was, in Turkey. And this was exactly my point. As someone who grew up in Turkey, we are not taught about these communities. And I always had a curiosity of this community, and later it increased. I can start with earlier years before, I went to the university and stuff. I grew up in Izmir, so in my environment, in Turkey, generally you hear the word Greek in Turkey, or like Greek music is around you, like especially, Theodorakis, Faranturi, George Dalaras. I used to listen to these a lot, especially Theodorakis was a big inspiration when I was a teenager. I used to, work in a bookshop, so we used to play him. So, that you have this sort of relationship with music. And then, of course, you hear the word meyhane, like Greek tavern. But this is in a, I think, more romanticized sense, something sweet. Or, in Turkey, even today, you would see a cafe called Elenis Place. This, you will see this place where there used to be Greeks. But this is also, it's not just me, but also there are people who question this romanticized version of Greeks, rooms, as we say, in relation to, Turkey's Greeks. So, like, for example, I never forget one of my friends, she's Turkish. So she went to this, I think she went to İmros, Gökçeada, be called in Turkish today. And they went to this cafe. It was called Elenis Cafe. And my friend is like, I would like to talk to Eleni, please. It's like, sort of challenging people about this romanticized version of, using, if you don't have Eleni, please don't call, the point is we want this real, not just a like sweet romanticized thing. So, in general, anyway, there is this messy and pervasive knowledge about the Greeks that goes around in Turkey, but it's always incomplete because, you have to sort of piece it together. Obviously, you don't learn about it in school or in museums. Except, of course, the wars with Greece. I used to walk in Izmir a lot, and you hear these words like, this was a Greek house, blah, blah. And I was thought, well, who are these people who are very close, but so far away at the same time? And then, of course, this was before I moved to Istanbul. Then, of course, in Istanbul, you have completely, new, amazing story in relation to Greeks. Especially studying art history and archaeology in Istanbul makes you think a lot about history of the city. And of course, the Byzantine past is still very visible to me, at least. And this becomes even more noticeable when you study it. And I remember walking around actual Constantinople, the historic Constantinople, all these inside the walls. At the time had a lot of impact on me. And while I was walking, I used to see many Greek Orthodox churches, Greek schools with like these big walls or doors, like massive iron big doors around them. And I was like, always thinking, again, curious about what was behind this. It's kind of an interesting feeling because you're from the same country. These, you are with them, but there are always barriers and you don't know where they are. So that was a bit strange. It was always a question in my mind. And one day with my friend, I went to the Patriarchate in Fener. And I think that also increased my interest and curiosity for for this group, for this community, because also they were very friendly and supportive. I mean, Patriarchate is more than, I always say, more than just like a religious center. It's, it's got also amazing library, and they run a lot of, cultural things. And when you go as just a, secular random woman, and I remember they helped us. Sometimes like we had to do some, like essays. We didn't have enough resources in Turkish and stuff. So they would actually read some Greek for us, or Byzantine art. So anyway, this is also another
very interesting. Yes. Yeah. And it's very interesting that you used to listen to Mikis Theodorakis, because Mikis Theodorakis is quite patriotic, his songs. I don't know if you understood, of course, or if it was the music, that it was like an attraction to you, or the voice, so it's very interesting that you used to be a fan of Mikis Theodorakis.
But, his nationalism, it wasn't like quite hard right-wing nationalism. So, it was against junta and things like that. So in that sense, acceptable nationalism perhaps.
Yes.
Kind of.
Also, I noticed that you use both, like you say, sometimes Istanbul or Constantinople, So how do you think, what is your perception about the two different names?
Yeah. Name politics. As I said, it's kind of course it's, Constantinople, Constantinopolis, as we say, in Turkish. But, when I speak in English, I always use the word Istanbul, or if I speak in Turkish, also I use the word Istanbul. But if I speak in Greek, I use the word Constantinople, because that's how it is. So we have
easier, isn't it, to pronounce it as well, I think, especially for you, I guess.
Yeah. I'm learning Greek, so it's not.
Oh, wow. Well done.
That's a different matter, but it's a different story. But so I don't really mind that. So I think in English, especially if I'm giving a talk for especially English-speaking audiences, for British people, for example, it's confusing if you use the word Constantinople, because it refers to historic time. So there is this, historical confusion can happen, because today it's accepted as Istanbul. But if I'm speaking in Greek, of course, I don't say Istanbul, because I know that it's, Constantinople, Constantinopoli.
Constantinopoli, excellent. Yeah. Oh, Poli. Usually I think
Poli.
Yes, in Poli. And I think Istanbul, it means actually Istanbuli. From what, so
that's a common idea, yes, that it comes from actually Greek, which is also, I don't understand why. Sometimes you can see some Turkish nationalists also say, no, it comes from Greek. And I'm like, well, why is the problem? Because, okay, let's forget about Istanbul. There are a lot of cities in Turkey actually come from Greek. Gallipoli, Gelibolu, Smirne, Izmir, Trabzon, I don't know, it's like nothing unusual. And also for centuries, Ottomans used the word Constantiniye. So, and also I also think we shouldn't really worry about this. And if people want to call it Istanbul, that's fine. And if people want to see it as Constantinople, it's fine. It's people's feelings, people's relationships. And I respect all of the use. And of course, for me, it's also, Constantinople. When people tell me, well, you should say this or that, but I'm like, well, all my work is about actually protecting the memories of Constantinople. So, of course, I don't mind.
I have actually some friends and family. They are really, really lovely. They are Turkish. And whenever I go to their house, we made a deal. They will say, would you like Greek coffee? And if they come to my house, then I would say, would you like Turkish coffee? It's like being polite to each other,
Well, with my friends and stuff, I was just like, do you want Greek, Turkish, whatever, that coffee you want.
Yes. Especially with what you are doing. It's important to leave aside the politics and just focus about your research and find out, more about what you're trying to, to focus on your goal instead of, get involved with the rest.
I think in a way you are getting involved. You can't really get away from politics because what you're doing is always shows a political stance. So, I mean, like if I had really strict, rules about it, like it's definitely Istanbul, or this. But I think is I just respect each use and. Sometimes it's because of the context that I have to use, Constantinople or Istanbul. So it's, Yes. And it's the same with, we call these communities Ρωμαίους, Ρωμαίους της Constantinople, right? So it's, and then I said, okay, in English it's confusing. No one knows Ρωμαίους, Rum and stuff. So you have to say Greek. And I don't think it's a problem as well, because they're Greek-speaking Orthodox communities. So, but in Turkish, if you call Yunan, as I said, Ionian, then that means actually Greece is Greeks. So Greek citizens, Greeks. So it's just that I think the problem is all these nation state politics also complicate things. And sometimes when I, work with people, it doesn't matter when it comes to, all these memories and heritages, we can't always think with the nation state ideas.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because the two cities, two lands like Athens to Istanbul, Asia Minor to, mainland Greece is so linked that sometimes, you experience something and then you can't always put the border there. So it's quite tiring as well.
It can be, I can imagine, yes. Right, so Gina, what is the biggest challenge you faced while you were making this documentary?
I think the biggest challenge probably, I had so many interesting stories that I could have told in the film and in my research in general, of course. But Jem and I thought, Jem is, other filmmaker. I made this film with him. So we thought, how do we make them all work together? That's the challenge, because you have different, kind of stories. And of course, this is just not a homogeneous community. There are, diverse experiences, diverse relationship with the past and today. So how, of course it's quite complex. So how do we make sense of that? And also in the end, in my research, with memory map or with hopefully coming book, I'm telling the stories of people and need to be careful about how I present them in a way that they want. I was very nervous about hearing my participants or other community members' comments after I sent the film to them. I was like, oh no, I hope it was okay, because it's their story in the end. And luckily, they were happy.
They were happy.
Yeah, good. And in fact, we screened the film at the Federation of the Constantinopolitans in Athens. I was giving a certificate thanking me for my engagement and recognition of the community's history. And I must say it was the best recognition for me. So, and of course, doing this work during pandemic, it was hard as well. But
I can imagine, but you did an excellent job. But what about the Turkish community? How did they see it? Because obviously you are revealing quite sensitive matters, which perhaps, the young generation don't know about this. So did you have any objections or any negative thoughts?
I think this is interesting and good question. Not so far.
Okay, good.
I think, only once one person questioned what I was going to do with this. Like, this person saw me a few times. It was an Turkish official, going and talking, to Greeks of Istanbul. And then they saw, he saw the camera and stuff like that. And then he asked me many questions. And in the end, I just said, well, the rooms, Greeks of Istanbul, and I and you, we are from the same country, Why can I not be curious about them? So this is my basic explanation, like, why not? You know, we are together, and it's like, why is it them, they, me, you? I mean,
exactly.
You know? And actually, he stopped and said, yes, of course. So he stopped after that. So he thought, okay, it makes sense.
It makes sense. Good. So you have managed to give a good explanation, which is great. Well done to you.
But of course, you know, this is not just one view. So another person in a similar position, interestingly, again in Turkey, I mean in Istanbul, said what I was doing was important and it will be a disaster to lose this community in Istanbul. So I think in general, I would say many people in Turkey are also interested in this community. And in fact, there are good publications about this community by Turkish researchers, Turkish writers in Turkish. And in fact, they were very helpful for me to learn about their political and social history before I started my, research. And also, I was surprised that there aren't enough publications about this community in English. And to be honest, in my experience, many Greeks in Greece also don't always know about this community. And also, I think in the film also you can see that when Greeks were displaced from Turkey, sometimes they also encountered prejudice when they arrived in Greece. So they were also, they were marginalized in Turkey, but also in Greece too. I mean, it's different now, but their first arrival was also quite hard. So in one scene of the film, an older man remembers how they would be called infidels in Turkey, but when they went to Greece, they were called Turkish Swedes as an insult. So I think, again, it comes to like a key problem here is that our modern nation state borders don't match with the way in which people inhabit the world in past. For example, it's hard to get people to understand that a lot of the Istanbuli Greeks I work with, or as Constantinopolitans, as we can say, had never been to Greece before they were expelled from Turkey. This is also quite an interesting point in a way, because this is not also unique. We can also think about the Armenian population in modern day Turkey in the same way as a historic people who have been, present for centuries, like Greeks, sometimes for thousands of years. So these days we think about citizenship that puts us into a particular nation state, but in our minds, as we talked about it, in memory and heritage, it doesn't work like that. So we need to think about times when peoples like Greeks, Armenians, or whoever were actually spread across different parts of that region of the world. I mean, across what we call Turkey now. So and people moved, and the nation states changed. So people belong to,
Exactly. I mean,
and also it's okay to belong to two places. You can be from Istanbul, but now you live in Athens, and it's also your home because also you're related with your language and religion and culture, but also you're connected in different ways to the other country. I think it's really challenging sometimes for people to push to belong to just one place.
Absolutely.
And I don't think it's necessary.
Do you feel that, would you say that they have some kind of insecurities? Because as you said, perhaps when they just arrived in Athens, they felt unwelcome. So of course, this is affecting the psychology, and it creates a kind of complex, feeling like, where do I belong? I'm Greek, but I'm not wanted. They don't want me in Constantinople. So who am I? What do I have to do? Where do I go? Did you come across this kind of feelings while you were doing your research?
Yeah, definitely. Older generations. Again, this is not like we can't generalize it. Not everyone had the same experience.
Of course, sure.
We know that some did. They actually, they were insulted as like being Turkish Swedes. So And of course, that affects their belonging. And then, of course, they become just like one close community. And I heard from Greeks in Greece saying, oh, they're a close community. But of course, it's changing with the new generation. It's a different thing. But with the old generation, it's normal, you know, because you weren't very welcomed at the time. Although it's, as I said, what they say in the film also, like one other person says, well, actually it was at the beginning. Now it's different because she says that because we showed ourselves, we showed who we were. So basically people actually had to work hard to show that they're actually, they have to prove themselves. That is, I think, sad. You know? And I think they're proud now because they say, well, we are accepted. Now they understand. In fact, I heard that quite a lot. In fact, in the film, she also says, they say, were you baptized? And then she's like very emotional about it. Well, of course, there is Patriarchate, which is the first Greek Orthodox church in the world. And they were proud of that. You know, they were baptized in the Patriarchate in Fener. And then they get this question, even like, are you Christian? Are you Muslim? What are you? So, yes. Oh, and of course, imagine this is in your memory. So I think the situation of this community is interesting. They were marginalized in Turkey, and there were some problems in Greece as well. And as I said, it's really interesting that people don't know much about them.
Yes, I mean, it's very true. It's down to knowledge as well, because I mean, Greeks, as you said, like they were calling them Turkish seeds, you know, and actually heard stories that that was years back, and Greeks from, you know, Constantinople arrived in Cyprus, and at the airport, because it says born in Istanbul, but with the name Andreas, they were asking them, are you Turkish? You know, and they had difficulties entering Cyprus. They had to go through lots of questions before they allowed them, you know, to get in. So it's knowledge as well. I think now people are learning. But before we carry on, I think we are going to watch this amazing trailer.
Okay, sure. Thank you.
İstanbul, memleketim, doğduğum yer. Çok sevdiğim bir yer. Eski İstanbulluları çok hasret ediyorum. Artık yoklar.
İstanbul Rum toplumu mübadeleden istisna edilen tek toplumdu. İmroz ve Bozcaada adalarıyla beraber.
Epeyce Rum vardık fakat bugün maalesef yalnız ben ve eşim kaldık. Evlerden de bir tek bizim evimiz kaldı Rum evi olarak.
Size bir hafta süre veriyoruz. Alın malınızı, yani bir çanta içinde, yani mal mülkü değil, bir çanta içinde alın ama kıymetli şeyler almayacaksınız. Eşyalar filan ve $500.
İstanbul'u izliyorum. İstanbul için burada geldik. Türk kanal şeyleri koyduk yani İstanbul'u görmek için. Fakat eski İstanbul. Bugünkü İstanbul'u görmek istemiyorum.
Buranın tekrardan yaşamaya başlaması, tekrardan ana dilimizin duyulması, bir o kadar şarkıların, türkülerin, panayırların canlanması zannedersem benim jenerasyonumun artık görevi gibi.
Ben öldüğüm zaman beni oraya götüreceksiniz. Anladınız mı? Öyle konuşuyordu annem. Beni burada gömmeyeceksiniz. Orada. Anne öyle şeyler olmaz. Çok para istiyor yani cenaze. Yani öyle konuştum annemle. Neyse beni oraya gideceksin. Akrabalarımın yanında olmak istiyorum dedi. Annemin babamın yanında. Onu şimdi yapıyor.
Okay, I have to say, that the first time I watched this documentary, I was reduced to tears. And I think not just because I'm Greek, but I think even if I watched, these people, if they were Turkish or Indian or any nationality, listening to these sensitive stories, you get emotional. Can you tell us about your feelings? I mean, how did you feel listening, to these people?
Yeah, I think, first of all, I like the way how you put it in, it doesn't have to be Greek or Turkish. It's about people's stories, people's sadness, people's sensitive stories, as you say. So that's why I think when I do this sort of research, first of all, I don't care about national politics. I'm not interested in Turkish, Greek politics, how they work, borders, this, that, it's not. Of course, what I'm saying, of course, still this is political, but not state politics that I'm interested in that sense. I'm interested in people, what they feel, what they want to say, and I like listening to them. So it doesn't matter Greek or this or, so anyway. So, but I have actually I have always been interested in people's stories, not just what they say, but also how they say it, what it means to them, and how they feel. And that's a natural part of my character, I will say, but also I have anthropological training, which is also about engaging sensitively with people to understand their lives. And of course, sometimes I'm affected by people's stories, and people can be very emotional when they tell me their stories. However, it's also very important to people to be listened to and to have an opportunity to talk about memories that perhaps get ignored by others. So people are often ready to tell their stories. And for me, it's a privilege to listen to them. Not all stories are entirely sad ones. Actually, sometimes people talk about food or nice memories. And I think it's important to know that the memory of marginalized communities is not all negative. Otherwise, we lose the memory of positive aspects of culture that were taken away. So actual culture just disappears, under all this suffering. So in fact, I remember one participant said to me that he was tired of talking about the pogrom that took place in 1955 in Istanbul, against the Greek communities of Istanbul. And he said, he would get texts, for commemorations from his Turkish friends and stuff, but he was actually tired. So he actually wanted to focus on good things as well, and positive memories. So we have to find ways of remembering bad things and good things in the right balance. Otherwise, everything becomes about the history of suffering, which communities don't always want. So we have to listen to, what they really want. So, this is not one story. It's always many stories and many perspectives, and some of which look at the past as sad and distressing, and some of which don't. So it's a complex situation, and that's partly my job to show in my work. Also, for example, in the film, we see how optimistic and positive the headmasters of the Greek schools are. They have very, very small number of students today. These big castle-like amazing schools have 30 to 40 students. If they're lucky, they get 50 maximum. So it's very important to show how much energy they give to the community and how they balance a realistic perspective on the community's history with optimism, even with their singing, so you have to listen to this. And of course, it's a lot of emotional labor for me as well. But because of all these reasons, I think,
you need to focus on what you are doing. Would you say that, what did you actually pick from the feelings? Like, is it more like anger or sadness or nostalgic?
I think a very, very good question again. I think, you know what, I didn't feel anger very much. I didn't feel anger in people in my field work. I mean, I heard that some people were angry. They didn't want to talk about their time in Istanbul at all. Of course, there are people like this. But in my field work, people were, I think, just sad. Even I think often, you know, the memories are maybe, you know, optimistic and, you know, sort of joyful. I think in the end, it's a bit sad because it's lost. So it's about loss. I think a lot of, feelings about loss came out a lot.
Sure. And where was it, where did you make this documentary, Gune? Was it, in Athens as well? Where did you find these people?
Athens, I think in the film we had different locations. There are three main locations. One of them, obviously, Istanbul. One of the main characters is Dimitris, who lives in Athens now, but we follow his coach journey back to Istanbul so that he can rebury his parents' bones in Greek cemetery in Istanbul. Then there is Thanasis, who is one of the few Greeks of his generation who remained in Istanbul. So I interviewed him there with Cem. And there is Stelios, the singer and music teacher, whom we see in the Patriarchate in Fener at the beginning of the film. But he moved back to Imbros, Gökçeada, as we say in Turkish, where he's interested in rebuilding the Greek community. So we have these main three locations.
What is next? I mean, what are you planning to do with this documentary? Any plans for a feature film? And where can we view it? Is it out there that anyone can view it? Because I remember I watched it. It was an event online through
yes.
I think it Germany, Kωνσταντινούπολης? Yes.
Yeah.
So
it was called Constantinopolitans in Germany. Yes, that online event. And we had one screening in Athens with the community, and we are going to do one in Istanbul. We are just talking about it now. Hopefully it will be in summer, and after that we want to put it online, so it will be available in 2-3 months. Just bear with me. It's coming online because it has to be accessible. And I want actually people to watch this film and listen to people's stories. That's very important.
That's very, very nice of you that you feel that way, Gune. And also there is going to be a viewing on 17th of November at Hellenic Center. From what I know, the president of the Kωνσταντινούπολης in UK approached you, and it's going to be a Q&A as well, if I'm not mistaken, because you are going to be there, correct?
Yes, I will be. Yes.
Excellent.
Yes.
Oh,
next one.
Yes, no, it's great and well done. Thank you so much for, doing this documentary and for trying to tell the people, what is going on. But if I'm not mistaken, you are developing a memory map as well. Can you tell us briefly what is this all about?
Yeah, I think first of all, I must say I am also worried about the future of this community in Istanbul, because it's an aging and diminishing community, and the future of this community is obviously ambiguous. And as you see in the film, there's hope. Of course, we should always keep that. And I think, as a researcher, in my capacity, if I can do something like this, of course, I feel like I should. And yes, as I said, memory map is a way of providing a digital showcase for heritages that are missing from the official records. And this is also like a community resource too. So the map includes stories, sounds, sites, objects that are related to the community, the Greek communities of Istanbul. And I have these categories, like sounds, dates, image, and they are geolocated. These categories emerged in my field work according to people's stories, because sometimes the sound of, for example, sound of old stairs in a Greek school that brings a lot of memories. So I have the recording of that and the story of that. Or you can get, I don't know, a song that they talk about that is important for the community. And the stories come from my interviews in Athens and in Istanbul. And if you see geolocations, actually there are some stories that located in Athens as well. So
when do you think is this going to be ready? And
yeah, you can now access this is online. It's like an ongoing thing. So I already have some stories there, and I have some more to put up. So yeah, you can already see, and you can get some, of course, you can get a lot more. My aim was to sort of give a bit of sense of what sort of stories people have, and what you can do.
Fantastic. And before we finish, do you have anything to say to the Greek community from Constantinople or Istanbul,
Istanbul, yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think it's hard to say because I have a lot to say. So,
that's really nice.
Yeah, I have a lot to say, and I think I will be saying more, hopefully, in my book. So I'm working on it now, and I'm really, really enjoying dealing with all these, interviews and memories and stuff. It's really, I developed amazing relationship with the, participants, and I feel like I don't see myself not Greek or Turkish or this or that. We're just, connected people.
And you're learning Greek as well.
Yes, and I'm enjoying it very much. It's hard, but
next interview is going to be in Greek,
Yeah,
because I would like to have you again. You have to tell us about your writing a book. You just said so.
Yeah, it's just with work. I'm trying to fit that as well. So let's see. But yeah, it's going to be stories of people basically. And I just say, well, we have to really think about the future of this community really carefully, because it's an important memory and heritages for Istanbul, Constantinopolis, whatever you want to say it. So we have to think carefully about it.
Excellent.
I think I do. As a Turkish person, I think I do think about these Greek memories, and I'm interested in. As I said, I like Istanbul, and I'm interested in Asia Minor. So, and of course, Greek Greek heritage is part of it. I'm not talking about antiquity and stuff. I mean, I'm actually interested in people's memories, people's histories, their stories. I'm very much into people's stories. And actually, there is a new project related to the next time Asia Minor. Yes. So,
yeah, very busy. It's just one last question. It just came in my mind now, because from what I know, the families, Turkish and Greeks, they used to be close and friends. And actually, Turkish people helped the Greeks during the difficult time. And they're really trying to help some families. Any of your relatives happen to have any Greek friends, maybe, back then?
Yeah. I think, first of all, it's also always in my data. And of course, there are nationalists everywhere, and in Turkey. And of course, these nationalists attacked Greeks and some other obviously non-Muslim communities. But let's say pogrom in 1955 was a big, horrible event that happened. And in my data, I always hear stories about the pogrom. With the age group, they were maybe children, 5, 10. And there are mixed stories. Of course, they remember the attackers, but they also talk about their Turkish neighbors who would support them. So everyone had Turkish friends. It's everywhere. It's complicated. We shouldn't think all Turks are good or Turks are bad. Everywhere, there are some Turks who were bad, horrible, did horrible things.
Absolutely.
Amazing Turks who, we can't really generalize. Everywhere, good people, bad people. It's about that, really.
Very true. Very true.
I think
right. Thank you so much.
It's the same. So, good memories, bad memories, it's mixed. But,
absolutely. You're totally right. I totally agree. It was
we should be careful. When we just focus on good memories, we should not forget that there were difficulties.
Absolutely.
But when we talk about the difficulties, we should also remember there were other understandings and, good memories. So it's all about finding the balance and the way of talking about these aspects. So
it's the memories that makes you feel attracted to a place, because I can't remember the name. He said when he grew up, he was in Athens, he felt that he didn't belong and he wanted to go back.
Yeah.
That shows it's the memories, it keeps you, it makes you feel that you belong somewhere, to that particular place. Because as you said, it's not only the difficult memories, but sometimes the beautiful memories are stronger, which is good when we feel that way.
Yeah. So we all, that's why it's important to do this sort of anthropological work, because we can't just say, oh, they feel like this or that. I don't know. We need to go and ask. And we need to, sort of understand different experiences, different relationship with the place and memory. If you've missed Istanbul, Pera, your life there, and you couldn't actually adapt your new life in Athens, doesn't make you less Greek or less Orthodox or this. You're just human being. You're just attached to your place with your memories, with your culture, with your own culture that includes patriarchate, your church going and Greek school, like, Zografion, this sort of schools also come out in my fieldwork quite a lot. So we just have to listen and understand.
You pronounce Zografio fantastic. Well done.
Surprisingly, I hear that a lot. Yeah, with my small Greek.
Well done.
Your pronunciation is good, which is good. I think because I hear a lot of Greek-speaking people, that helps me.
Okay, well done then. Right, it was a real pleasure having you, Güner. I would love to have you again, because there is so much to say. You can tell us so much, and I wish you all the best. Till the next time. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Pleasure.
Bye.